Hello, my astrology friends. We are entering eclipse season, and here is my beautiful and very bright colleague Mila, who is an evolutionary astrologer, and will give us a breakdown of the eclipses that are coming, which are very significant by the look of it. Hello, Mila.
Hi, Lada. Nice to see you again. Thank you for having me back on.
Always looking forward to have interviews with you because you give us a very different perspective. It's more spiritual perspective. It's not focused so much on events, specific events, but how this will affect our evolutionary progress. So I'm looking forward to what you have to share with us.
Oh, thank you. Would you like me to share the screen of the eclipses or just, yeah? Okay, let
Yeah,
me just...
whatever you prefer.
Okay, so I'm using the chart of the actual full moon rather than the eclipse itself because there is like few minutes different. I believe the eclipse is like 13 minutes different after the full moon in Libra. But just so it looks all tidy with the sun and moon being on the same degrees. And it's the same for the solar eclipse. I think there is like 2 minutes difference because between the actual lunation and the eclipse point. So this is the lunar eclipse in Libra, which is coming up Monday, on Monday the 25th, depending where anybody is in the world. For me here in Mexico, it will be, I mean, the full moon is at 1 a.m. The eclipse itself will be 1:13 a.m. And as we can see now, everything has shifted into Aries, well, more or less, because we are now in the Aries season. We're actually recording this on an equinox. So happy equinox, everyone. And yeah, this is the midpoint of the eclipse that we had in fall, in October, because with the cycles, the new moon conceives a new energy, and then the full moon, which is the lunar eclipse, is actually the midpoint, is the 180 degrees. So this cycle that had begun in October 2023 will actually end in October 2024, when we have the next solar eclipse in Libra, which will be on October 2nd. And interestingly enough, both during the October eclipses, Pluto was in Capricorn. Also, that will be the case for the fall eclipses, because Pluto will have the one more retrograde into Capricorn, which we already covered. So what is interesting about this eclipse is that it's happening on the North Node. So Sun and the North Node, the conjunction hasn't happened at this point. Sun and the North Node conjunct on 4-4 portal. And that is going to reset the cycle between Sun and the North Node, because always a conjunction, it's a ending and a new beginning. And the North Node is where we're heading. And as we can see, Chiron and Mercury are still in conjunction here. And Mercury, to me, plays a very significant role, even though it's just Mercury. It's just Mercury, so nobody's paying much attention to Mercury. Mercury does what it does, but to me, Mercury plays very significant role, also because during the last lunation, which was the new moon in Pisces, Mercury was the only one of the personal planet that was already in Aries. It was on 0 degrees. It only just had a prior to that. And Mercury is how we identify reality. So the function of Mercury or Gemini in evolutionary astrology is how we identify what we perceive in order to create a connection to our external environment. And with Mercury having all these Aries energy, and actually I just checked, and the eclipses, every single time we'll have an eclipse, you know, like these ones in Libra and Aries I'm talking about, apart from the one in Libra in October, Mercury is in Aries. Now is in Aries. Also for the next year, eclipse in Aries, it will be again in Aries. So Mercury is playing a very significant role because it's inviting us to look at things differently. Aries, new beginning, look at them from the fresh perspective. And the energy I have been tapping into and also sharing with my colleagues is that we need to start applying the multidimensional perspective, which to me became even more highlighted when Mercury had the conjunction to the new moon in Pisces with Neptune and all that being involved, because it's about the totality of Pisces age. We have the, based on our individual experience of what we have in, what we are going through right now, and experiencing the collective and what's going on a global stage collectively. we have the totality of understanding of the Pisces age and everything that came before, because everything is in manifestation. So in order for us to create a different reality, we have to connect with it in a different way, which is the Mercury. What we think, what we believe, we create. It's because the universe is mental, right? It's one of the hermetic laws. So we create from our thought and from our beliefs. So this is why I'm taking our attention to Mercury, even though it's just Mercury. I mean, nothing in Gemini. Why are we even talking about Mercury? But Mercury is how we connect with the environment. It's just like, even from the traditional astrology, Gemini is when the child starts going to kindergarten and to school, because it starts going beyond just, you know, me, my mom, and my siblings. You know, it starts connecting with the environment, and then we start getting the programming and, you know, like, how do we interact with that external world. And also, before we connect to the society as an adult, Libra, we go through Virgo, which is again ruled by Mercury. So it's about the adjustments from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. And this is a full moon in Libra. So this full moon in Libra is actually, as I mentioned, midpoint. It's illuminating to us whatever we have been perceiving and interacting with in the past 6 months since the solar eclipse in Libra, that is now out of balance. Because now, during this lunation, Pluto is in Aquarius, and Pluto actually, it's making a sextile. It's still within a degree. It's making a sextile to the sun, and it's trining this eclipse. Pluto is trining this eclipse. So whatever is happening in our lives, individually and collectively, actually is in alignment with our evolutionary path. Even though it might not make any sense to us, we might be in a complete resistance to it, because we might go like, well, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't hold any meaning. But this is where Mercury comes in, because now Mercury had started a cycle of 20 years worth of conjunction between himself and Pluto in Aquarius. The conjunction between Pluto and Mercury we had in February was the first one of the next 20-year worth of conjunction. Same for Mars, same for Venus. A brand new cycle has begun, a brand new cycle, uncharted territory, which is Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. We don't know, we cannot predict what exactly is going to come out of it, because Uranus being in Taurus, and still this conjunction between himself and Jupiter hasn't happened yet, but it's already in degree. It's going to take place on April 20th, which is after the eclipses, right before full moon in Scorpio. So Mercury being in Taurus, which we can also see in the mundane everyday reality on the individual and global level, is completely destabilizing our sense of security, stability, comfort zone, everything that we are attached to, because Jupiter coming into conjunction with Uranus, which is going to end the cycle that started between the two of them in Aries, it's now ending. This cycle is ending. It's saying that, well, we're going beyond. We're creating a new chapter. We're creating a new story. Mercury is saying we have to think outside of the box. All these personal planets, which, you know, Mars and Venus, in this case, rule of the North and the South Node, also started a new cycle with Pluto. And in evolutionary astrology, it's all about Pluto. It's the evolution, it's the soul desire for incarnation. And this is one thing that I also try to explain to my clients or my audience when I say, what we want, what our ego wants, and what our higher self wants might not be exactly the same thing. So this is where we might be thinking like, well, I know what I want, I know what is right for me, because we go based on our mind, which is a database of the past, is the archive, is the teaching of Joe Dispenza. If you want to create a different reality, you need a different personality, you need to reprogram yourself, right? So this is all connected to this Mercury archetype, because it's saying, in order to create this new reality, which we all saying we want to live in a world that is full of love and light and peace and harmony and no war and all this, well, we need to change the way we perceive it and the way we interact with it. So with this lunar eclipse, we are getting an illumination, which is the point of, is the balance point. It's like always two planets, two signs in opposition. There is a need for balance, because it's like two opponents, and like, okay, well, you need to find a way in the middle. How are you going to balance the scale? So what is this full moon in to me representing is where things are so out balanced that we need to actually start looking at them differently in order to find a different way to interact with that which we are perceiving to bring things back to balance. And because the North Node is in Aries and South Node is in Libra, we are going to continue to experience more extreme until we say, well, okay, things are too much out of whack. What are we going to do to bring it back to the balance? And we have the yacht pointing to the South Node, and is actually between Venus and Uranus. So these are all connected by Venus. Venus is the ruler of the South Node. Venus is the ruler of Uranus, and is pointing to the South Node. We can no longer look back at how things were, which represented the societal structure of balance prior, because Venus is in Pisces. Venus at this point just had a conjunction with Saturn. She's in a new phase conjunction with Saturn, and Saturn is dissolving everything. Saturn is the time, is the karma, is the societal structure, is dissolving everything. Mars is just about to have a conjunction with Saturn, actually right after the solar eclipse in Aries. So we can see how simultaneously cycles are ending, because we have the totality. Pisces is the totality of understanding of everything that came before, which is now in a full manifestation. And at the same time, new cycles are already beginning. And with regards to solar eclipse in Libra, it's a midpoint. It's a midpoint because we're starting to understand more than we did 6 months ago, because a lot of things happened between now and then, what is completely getting out of balance. And when we take it to the mundane everyday experience, a lot of people are experiencing this in their relationships, whether it's a personal romantic relationship, whether it's friendships, whether it's family dynamics, whether it's relationships with co-workers, employers, whatever, because we are tribal creatures. We are relational. We learn through relationships. And this being Libra, all about Libra relationships, a relationship to the external, because again, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, there is a grand air trine. We gather information through Gemini, which is helping us to connect to external environment and determine, are you my friend or not? Do I want to be in a relationship with you or not? And then with regards to Aquarius, is, are you my tribe? Do we see each other? Like, what's going on here? Because nothing is ever happening in separation in a chart. Everything is always connected to everything else. And we can see that Pluto is trining this eclipse. Uranus is actually making a trine, well, not trine, sextile to Venus, because this is the closing sextile between the two. Venus is also making a sextile to Jupiter. So in both cases, now Venus being in a new phase conjunction with Saturn, she's starting a new cycle. Also, for the first time in Pisces, because the last time they had a conjunction was still in Aquarius in 2023. So Venus is starting the cycle of dissolving of that which now is meaning, which is no longer actually making us feel safe and secure, even though we still attached to it, because Taurus, we fixated on it. Better this than the devil we know is the fixation on the survival. But with Pluto now being in Aquarius and squaring Taurus by the sign, it's saying, well, we're going beyond. We didn't incarnate just to survive. That is the story of many, 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 many lifetimes, incarnations, and previous, because this is what the soul, what the source desired at the time. This is what we were learning, how to survive, how to be part of the tribal where we were all like not needing to individuate. We just had this external authority, whether it was through religion or cultural orientation or whatever it was, or suppression by the governing bodies, whatever that was. And that was exactly what was needed at the time because of the level of consciousness. But now, since Uranus, Neptune, Pluto were discovered, and now all these new planets are being discovered and all the new asteroids all the time, that means the consciousness of humanity is expanding at a rapid pace, and it will keep expanding because Uranus next year is going to move into Gemini, even though it will have one more retrograde in Taurus, but it's going to move into Gemini. So actually Jupiter, because Jupiter is playing a role. Jupiter is in a sextile with Venus, who is the ruler of the eclipse. So this is why we keep hopping from planet to planet. Jupiter is just about to be moving into Gemini after his conjunction with Uranus at the end of May, and it's going to be touching everything. Uranus will be then going over as of next year and then since 2026. So we're going beyond. Our perception of reality and way of connecting with it and way of connecting with one another it's breaking, it's fracturing, it's decentralizing. Uranus and Aquarius are the archetypes of decentralization, which is what Age of Aquarius is about. These two parallel lines. It's not the pyramid system, the one person on the top and everybody else just does what they told. That is not the natural state of Aquarius. Of course, it's got a shadow aspect of it, you know, which is all this disconnection. And this is why we always have to bring in Leo, which in a high vibration is the heart. Leo rules the heart, it rules the inner child, and it rules the purpose and destiny. So when we integrate the Leo, when we find the balance point between Aquarius in Leo, then we cannot just disconnect from everything there is and each other, because when we perceive reality through the heart, then we connect it to the source, because the heart and the inner child is the gateway to everything there is. So I hope this is making sense. Do you want to say something, Lada?
No, absolutely. I love your way of thinking and how fast your mind is. So thank you. Carry on.
Yeah, because I went into a little bit of a rabbit hole digging while I was waiting for us to start. And I actually realized that, well, I would like to briefly move to the new moon in Aries solar eclipse that will be taking place in April, because with this Libra eclipse, like the main point of the Libra eclipse to me, because it's a midpoint, this is not an end, because people sometimes think that full moon is the end. It's not. This is the midpoint. It's the balancing point. It's the opportunity for creating a balance with regards to a situation that has now grown into full illumination since October 2023. But with regards to seeding of a new energy, we're looking at the solar eclipse in Aries, which will be the next one. This will be the next new moon now. And actually, the solar eclipse in Aries is happening in exact conjunction with Chiron. So we can see here with the lunar eclipse, the Chiron is already playing a role because it's still conjunct with the North Node. They have a new cycle now because they had the exact conjunction on February 19th. That's when the new cycle had begun between the two. And side note, they will have, next time they're going to conjunct at the end of 2030s, in 38, 39, they're going to conjunct in two signs, because they're going to conjunct in Cancer, and then they're going to both retrograde into Gemini. So this is again interesting, because what are we actually building is a new sense of self, Cancer, new sense of safety, security, and stability with regards to becoming a new version of ourselves. And then Gemini is about the choice, is the Mercury. So this is a complete side note that would go into complete different rabbit hole. But again, Chiron is very important because it's making an opposition to the eclipse. Chiron is our wounded healer, collective and individual. This is where we wounded when it hurts. And Chiron in Aries is actually perfectly describing what is going on through majority of people's emotional state, which is the fear. Fear of the unknown, fear we don't know what we're doing, how it's going to look like. We know, we all feel that something's changing and something is going to happen, or the world is changing. We don't know exactly how and what's going to be the precursor to that, but it creates this sense of like fear, because like, well, we can't predict it, because the ego is the database of the past. Ego is the Mercury, the way we think. And it's also our attachment to labels, which is again, Mercury Cancer, attachment to who we think we are, which is coming from what we experienced previously, which is again, the brain is the archive of the past. It's got very important role to play as a servant, as a tool, right? As a tool of navigation through everyday reality. However, if we want to go beyond, if we want to go to this North Node in Aries, which is the like a North Star where we're heading, and it's all about this brand new beginning. Aries and Aquarius, they sextile each other, and as we know, Pluto is sextile in the Sun. So we need to start really thinking about ourselves, about reality, about everything in a very different way. Start questioning everything, and look at the multiple ways of looking at situation, opening up the multidimensional way of perceiving reality, because all these archetypes, as like Gemini, Sagittarius, which is how we gather information, how we describe the reality we are experiencing, and then of course Virgo, that is helping us to discern, and Pisces, that is trying to help us to understand the meaning of it all and let it go if it doesn't hold a meaning no more. These are mutable signs. These things are continuously changing as we go through life. So going back to Chiron, because this is where I began before I go into the rabbit holes. Chiron today, as we're recording this, is having a first conjunction. Mercury and Chiron are having first conjunction today on the day of the equinox. They will have 2 more conjunctions because Mercury is going to go retrograde on April 1st until April 25th. Now, interesting thing to pay attention with regards to Mercury-Chiron conjunction is that each time they're going to conjunct, Mars as the ruler and also the ruler of the North Node is going to be in different sign. Mars currently at the time of this conjunction, actually that is happening today, we can't see it on this chart because this chart is already a few days ahead. Mars today, as they conjuncted for the first time, is in Aquarius, which is we're going beyond. We're going beyond. We need to face everything that is preventing us from being able to go beyond, which is connected to trauma. Aquarius is also associated with trauma because it's something that happens suddenly and then freezes in our system because we cannot always deal with it at the time it happens, which is most of the time in childhood, which is why we spend majority of our life trying to heal stuff that happened either in childhood or a long time ago. And this is, again, would be completely different rabbit hole to dive into. But if we just keep it simple and go to this Chiron-Mercury conjunction, which is playing a big role during this Libra eclipse because of the conjunction to Sun and opposition to the Moon, the next 2 conjunctions, the next one of those will be on the 15th of April, which is right after the solar eclipse. And as I already mentioned, and I will show the chart, Chiron is exactly conjuncting the eclipse. So during the second one, Mars is already in Pisces. So Pisces is about this, okay, what are we dissolving? As I mentioned, Mars is actually conjuncting Saturn 2 days after on April 10th. And now we can see, here we can see it very clearly, Chiron, Moon, Sun, all together, same degree, same minute, everything the same. Chiron, of course, being ahead of the Sun. So after that, that's going to change because when we move Sun in front of the planet, actually becomes a closing phase conjunction because Sun is the center point. So what are we releasing? What do we need to heal and integrate in order to unlock the keyhole? Because Chiron is the key. When we look at the symbol of Chiron and flip it 90 degrees to the side, it becomes a key. Chiron is the key. Chiron is the key to all these eclipses because it's connected, because it's in Aries, it's ruled by Mars, and Mars at the time of the total solar eclipse in Aries is happening to be in Pisces in conjunction with Saturn, closing phase conjunction. So it's again showing us about this seeding of this energy which we don't know where it's going. It's creating a lot of fear in us individually and collectively because all this old stuff is coming up that is saying, well, I cannot predict this because the ego doesn't have the information. So this is what creates the fear. It takes us back to childhood, back to trauma that is unprocessed, and say, this was a situation when I didn't have the control. So this is technically what we're afraid of. We are not afraid of the unknown. We are afraid of the unresolved stuff that is preventing us to feel, well, yeah, you know, I can trust myself, I can trust the universe. No matter what happened, I'll be okay. But most of us are not at that level because of all this unhealed, unprocessed inner child wounding, ancestor healing, which is connected. Because the unhealed inner child becomes an ancestor wounding and so on and so forth. This is how it's being passed on. And this is all connected to Chiron. Where are we wounded? Where are we wounded individually and where are we wounded collectively? So with the solar eclipse, something new is being seeded. As we previously discussed in our previous videos, there will be no full moon lunar eclipse in Aries for another like 10 years. We're only going to have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. The full moon is just full moon because already in the fall, the next full moon after this Libra eclipse will be the lunar eclipse in Pisces, which is again about ending. But interestingly enough, what I really wanted to show going into the future 1 year from now is actually that the next solar eclipse, which is when this energy will culminate, because we go from conjunction to conjunction. That's the full cycle. It's not from conjunction to full moon. That's a midpoint. So this is what a lot of people are confused about. Just because we can see the moon full in the sky doesn't mean it's the end. You know, it's just the midpoint. So actually the solar eclipse in Aries that's taking place now on April 8th, 2024, yeah, right, that's where we are, because I'm already time traveling. The culmination of that solar eclipse will be in next year, actually it's in March 29th, yeah, March 29th, 2025. And March 29th is 2 days before Neptune moves into Aries. So I'm getting goosebumps all over my body because this is so significant. And as we can see, again, it's very near to Chiron. Chiron again, new phase conjunction. We can see Venus is retrograde at the time, and this is going 1 year ahead. So I don't want to confuse people, but I want to help them understand what is actually going on here, because everybody is waiting for, okay, when is this going to end? When are we going to see the result? Well, we won't, because we see it in a brand new energy. It's like literally, and this is the reset. It's not the reset that you hear from the World Economic Forum. This is a very different, it's a cosmic reset. And, you know, with this Venus actually, you know, at this time, Venus will no longer be the ruler of the North over South Node, because this will be March next year. Venus will be conjuncting Neptune 3 times, because she will also conjunct Saturn 3 times. But the thing to pay attention to, that Venus third conjunction with Neptune will be in Aries. It will no longer be in Pisces, it will be in Aries, and that will be, I believe, in May or something like that. Anyway, it will be after. But again, we can see Mercury is playing a role. Mercury is on 0 degrees in Aries. Now, this new moon that we have now, Mercury is still in Aries, because Mercury is having a retrograde. Mercury would not be in Aries anymore if we didn't have a retrograde, it would be long gone. But Mercury, there is no, that's what I mean. If people think things in astrology are at random, that it's just a coincidence, you know, we have these planets, you know, they just scattered around doing nothing. No, there is this divine intelligence that is literally like, pay attention, because there is a meaning in these symbols. So Mercury being in Aries for 3 out of 4 of these eclipses connected to Libra and Aries, this is significant. What is this indicating? You need to start thinking in a very different way, because where we go in, it's beyond everything we've ever, yes, we can go to ancient history and talk about Lemuria and Atlantis, and us that have the memory of that can say, well, nothing new under the sun, I think we've been here before, but it didn't look exactly like it does now, because we weren't exactly who we are right now, because your incarnation right now, the name and this you know, identity you carry in this lifetime is unique. That's why sun changes every lifetime, is in a different sign. And even when we have a skip step from the sun, it's only for this lifetime. It's not connected to past lifetimes, because the soul will always choose the sun where is the most relevant, the most impactful, because that's where the universe shines the torch, right? Is the sun, when things are illuminating. So that's again going into, you know, this is how my brain now operates. It's like going into a million different directions, because the universe just dumps this cluster of download and say, okay, now ground it. So going back to simple, we can see this Mercury that doesn't rule anything at the moment. It's playing a very significant role, because it's in Aries in 3 out of the 4 eclipses we're talking about. Why? Because we're going in a completely different reality, which requires us to look at things differently. And the connection to Chiron, triple conjunction to Chiron, that is going to be taking place between now and May. And during the last one in May, Mars will be in Aries. And that will be after Mercury will station direct, and it will be right alongside with the full moon in Taurus. Anyway, what this means is that we really need to start questioning. We really need to start questioning, why am I reacting to my environment the way am I? What is this trying to help me to understand about myself and my journey through life, journey through this incarnation? Because everything is about you, you know. It's not like in a selfish, egocentric way that now don't care about the world. No, but you are the one that is creating your reality. You are projecting your thoughts, your beliefs into the world out there, and this is how you identify the world. And what you're perceiving is just a like a what you call it's like an information gathering. It's the mechanism back, you know, is the one that, like, you project something into the universe, and the universe is showing you, okay, well, this is what you're thinking and believing, so now you're perceiving it, and now you have the opportunity to change it. Because otherwise, how would we be aware of ourselves if we didn't have the other? You know, like, this is where we need to interact with the external environment to be able to learn. And then we take the information in, and then we work with it, we process it, we go from Libra to Scorpio, we go like, oh, okay, now what did I learn about myself? So with regards to all this Aries energy, and North Node being in Aries, and now being in Aries season as of today, is not just about, well, yeah, it's about a new direction, but it's about what are you discovering about yourself that might be new, because you might look at things differently. And especially as all these different woundings are coming up to the surface because of the instability in the world and the fast changing pace of things, and also in many cases instability in our many relationships, not necessarily just romantic, but these are the closest one to home. We are invited to start digging that why this would be. Why? Because if we really perceive reality from the higher perspective and understand that, as I just said about the universe and astrology and charts, that nothing is random, nothing is coincidence, because there is this divine intelligence that actually knows what it's doing. There is something that actually is orchestrated, but something extremely intelligent, which we don't fully comprehend because we are in the limitation of the human body. If you understand that, then the question isn't, why is this happening to me? The question is, what my soul wants me to understand. Why would my soul want me to have this experience? Why would I be attracting a situation that are giving me this feeding mechanism, this information gathering, and what am I supposed to learn from that? Because Gemini, in a simple way of understanding in a traditional astrology, is about learning. It's about school. It's about, you know, how you learn to write and talk and communicate with your external environment, which again leads to connection and finding your tribe. So this is what actually happening. So in a external and everyday mundane reality, we might see a lot of things falling apart, but in many cases they say, well, sometimes things have to fall apart in order to be built back together, but in a way that actually is going somewhere, especially as we are experiencing that a lot of things that are still creating the structure of the reality we are experiencing are no longer holding the same meaning. They are no longer holding the same value because we have changed, because the collective consciousness have changed, and where we are heading collectively and individually, of course, because the collective is created by the individuals, and where the planet is heading and where the universe is heading and where the multiverse is heading is to evolution, to the higher, you know, the spiral. It's not like better or worse, it's just this continuous process of evolution. So this is why with these eclipses, because I know traditionally people were feared of eclipses, and that's mostly because things were like kind of predestined and karmic, that they didn't know quite what was going to happen because the gods were in charge. Well, guess what? You are the god. You are the creator of your reality. So you need to ask yourself, why would I be still having this experience? Because if I'm the one creating it, then what am I not seeing? What am I not understanding? Which requires for Mercury to go retrograde in Aries, because it's saying like, well, let's just look at this again. Let's just ask questions. Let's just start maybe seeing some different ways of understanding this. And then we come to Chiron, which triggers us, which says like, oh, well, but I don't want to go there. This is painful. You know, this is making me feel afraid. But the Chiron is the key. If you don't want to look at it, then how can we resolve it if Chiron is the key? Chiron is the key between Saturn and Uranus, which is the reality we are experiencing right now, which is dissolving because it lost meaning. And Uranus is that beyond. But in order to go beyond, you need to trust yourself, because you are the earth. Uranus at the moment is in Taurus. You are the one that creates. It's coming from you. This is the fire of creation, Aries, but it needs the earth and the water and the rest of it for anything to grow out of it. Like the fire is just on its own. It's like, okay, well, you know, we need all these elements in case, which is also with the, you know, card ruled by Gemini and Mercury, the magician, the number one in a tarot, right? Because the fool, the zero, is the 0 point, is the void. Everything is possible, but the magician in tarot is the one that's got all the elements. He say, okay, now what you gonna do with it? What do you want to create? Is up to you, you know, and is connected to Mercury as a Hermes, you know, the messenger. You need to be able to connect to both the physical reality and also the spirit world to actually create something that holds a deeper meaning. And this is, which I'm sure we already mentioned in our previous conversation, this is the whole point of Aquarius age. is to go beyond the limitation of just being in a human form or being in a spirit form and know everything and be connected to everything, but not having a human experience. So it's like, it's all great to know it all, but if I can't put it into practice, what good is it for me, right? So the Aquarian age and the so-called human 2.0, or whatever you want to call it, is not about Neuralink. It's not about you putting stuff in your body that is going to help you to go beyond. It's about you becoming it because you already are that. But in order to perceive yourself as that, we need to heal the things that made us believe that we aren't, that made us believe that we need that external Libra to make you be anyone. So this goes into much deeper concepts and understandings of reality that is actually saying that what you're really becoming right now, what we are invited to become, which is why the other has to kind of be fractured and fall apart, is to become truly aware of who you really are, because everything that is falling apart and being fractures is the labels, is the stories, is the program, is that which came before. And Saturn is in Pisces. Mars is in a closing phase to Saturn. It's going to have a new phase 2 days later after the eclipse. Venus is already in a new phase with Neptune. A year from now, when this cycle will culminate, Venus will be again closing to Neptune, free conjunction, but the third one will already be in Aries. So between now and then, between now and next spring, there are a lot of things that's going to take place. Why? Because we have one more retrograde of Pluto into Capricorn to show us the very last of it, that, well, this is what we're moving away from. And there is no like judging it or saying that, well, this is all awful. This is all awful. We're all victims. This should have never taken place. No, because universe makes no mistakes. Therefore, this was necessary for us to experience in order to understand the totality of it now losing meaning. Because how else we would know? Like, it's like when people go through life and make so-called mistakes. Mistake is nothing other than take that didn't take because we needed more time. We needed more experience. We needed more learning. So again, it's not about judging and criticizing, because that creates resistance. And by the law of attraction, which is one of the universal laws, what you resist persists. So this is where we invited to look at things differently, Aries, with the eyes of a child, because Aries is the child, is the beginning of the journey, is a fool, which says like, well, what if? What if everything is possible? What if there is a magic world out there to be explored? So we kind of not forget that, well, this is how it was and this is what happened before. We create it, we keep it as what it is. It's an archive of the memories, and it says, oh yeah, you know, like, I understand that if I go crossing road in the middle of highway at the rush hour, it might not end up very well for me. But with regards to, well, guess what? We've been experiencing this reality of enslavement for a very long time. So do we want to keep experiencing it going forward in the age of Aquarius? I don't think so. Now, what does it mean? Well, in order to create a different reality, we need to become someone different. So we cannot have this experience of abandonment, abundance and complete freedom and sovereignty by being attached to the stories, labels, and fragmentation and trauma of the past, because then it will make us to recreate the same reality, which is the same that if we are introduced by the same situation, whether it's in our personal life or collective, and we respond the same way, aka in many cases conflict, separation, division, war, and all these kind of things, well, what is it going to lead to? Well, just another one of the same, right? Because, you know, wasn't it Einstein, they said, if you, you know, try to, if you do the same thing but expect different result, is the definition of insanity. So this is literally where we at as a human collective, and we are experiencing this in microcosm in each of our personal lives, where, I mean, I know it's happening for me, and I know it's happening for everyone I speak to. I'm pretty sure it's in one way or another happening for everyone, where old people, old pattern, old things, old memories are resurfacing, especially now if you just had a Pisces season, resurfacing. Even if you don't want to deal with them, they resurface through our dreams to say, is this what you still want to be experiencing? And we have a choice, because Gemini, Mercury, you have a choice. You always have a choice. But in order to make a different choice, we need to resolve, well, not resolve, but we need to heal the Chiron. We need to really look at it in a phase and say, okay, what is this trying to help me understand? We need to start asking questions, not from the point of the victimhood of like, just, I don't like this, I reject this, I don't want to deal with this, because then guess what? It's just going to keep coming. because until we deal with it and we change the energy, it will keep creating more of the same, which is why many women, when they're young, they will keep attracting the same kind of partner until something will change, and that something has to be within us, because the external world is just a feedback mechanism. The external world doesn't create itself. It's a mirror and a projection of our inner world. So this is why we have all these Pisces and Aries at the same time, because normally we would think about Aries season and about new moon in Aries and all this. Oh, it's fire, it's going to be angry, it's going to be war, and it's going to be all the rest of it in a low vibration. Well, guess what? Mars is in Pisces. Well, what does this mean? It means that we're not going to just create with the human fire. We're going to have to create from the fire of creation, the spiritual fire of creation, because this Mars is technically dumping the water onto this fire. So like, yes, there could be a lot of righteous anger and all the rest of it, but we have to understand the meaning. Why is this happening? Why are we recreating this situation, whether it's our individual life experience or our collective life experience or whatever it is, because everything is just a mirror to one another. This is called school of life, the planet Earth, the planet of polarity. This is how we learn. We didn't come here just to sit here on a beach. That's part of the experience. It's not all of it, because we came here to resolve a lot of things that our own soul wants to resolve, to grow and evolve, connected to our past life and ancestor memory, but also contribute to the collective, because everything is connected. Because all these past lives where our ancestors and all these ancestors created a collective, and it's all part of us, because we came from all of that. The DNA remembers all of that. The imprint of the Akash remembers all of that. Everything is connected. So this is where we just had a seeding through the new moon in Pisces. There was a seeding of what we call unity consciousness, and it's not about copy paste all the same, you know, and you all need to believe the same and do the same and be the same. No, this is not what it is. This is about the human soul becoming aware of its soul aspect of itself. So it's literally like, yeah, we are all part of one, and we all contributing to the same pot and being affected by the same pot, but you all came here to be the unique expression of the source, which is the sun, which is why everybody's sun is unique, because that's who you are. Is you are a unique expression of the source, and there will never be another one of you, and there never was. Even if it was the same soul, you will always be someone, you know, slightly different, even though it's the same energy. But in order to understand that, we need to heal the Chiron, because the Chiron holds the key from the past to the future, because the Chiron is saying like, yes, there is the memory bank of everything that was before, but it's not supposed to imprison you. It's supposed to help you understand what now lost meaning, but also to help you understand what holds the meaning. So we're taking that with us. You know, this doesn't mean that everything that always happened was just bad. We're taking the good with us, you know, like that is something we want to keep. But then we need to reshape, remodel that which doesn't. And that is the Uranus in Taurus. What are we building? What are we building that is going to create this more, you know, like, in a sense, Taurus is about abundance, but it's also this, what is going to help us to not just survive, but thrive. Like, you know, connection to nature, connection to everything there is, because Taurus is in opposition with Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto is in Aquarius. So what are we actually valuing? What actually matters? And with Aquarius is the humanitarian archetype, which is saying that, well, you know, in a essence, we all contributing towards the same evolution of everything there is. So this is where we go in a very, very, very deep concepts, and we can just keep expanding on that. But in a more simplistic way, what's happening with this new moon in Aries is this seeding of this new direction, which we can't see what exactly it is, because A is a new moon, which is dark, B is Aries, which is the beginning of the cycle, and C, there is no lunar eclipse to Aries for another 9 or 10 years. So we will not see fully what are we creating, because we're starting from the scratch. Humanity is undergoing a complete reset. But like I said, there are people who will make you believe that this is a reset that serves their agendas. But this is a cosmic reset because everything in universe is cyclical. Even the stars die. Even planet Earth at some time, at some point in the future, is going to die because everything goes through cycles. And this is a natural flow of life. This is also the lesson of Scorpio, and especially my generation, Pluto in Scorpio, is the law of impermanence. Nothing is permanent because everything is continuously changing, and that's exactly what it's meant to do, because it's this continuous flow of evolution. But with this case, this new moon in Aries, in conjunction with the North Node and Chiron, that is going to be continuing next year, because we can see the same players over here, just in a different place. There is no end. There is no end. There is just seeding of a new energy, which we are creating as we go, as we speak, because we are creating it on the bones of that which is good from the previous. Not, we're not putting a new paint on a mold, but we keep in the good bones. That which is good bones, Saturn, we keep in the good bones, and we're going to create on the top of that. And both are happening simultaneously. Closing phases, new phases, closing phases, new phases, because nothing is always just in front of the sun. There is always something behind it as well, because things are ending and beginning. Because if we actually, as most people say, that, oh, I wish this whole thing would just fall apart tomorrow. Well, I don't think so. I don't think you really wish for that, because that would be complete anarchy. Like, we want things to change, but not today or tomorrow. Like, we want them to change on an energetical level first, because then we will see it mirrored projected into the external environment. If things change so rapidly on the external world without people changing internally, that would not serve us, because we need to heal and integrate as we go, and also create these new pathways as we go for things to actually hold a meaning for us. Because it's like, imagine that you would just have this sudden awakening, and every memory your soul ever had would come flooding to you all at once. Your brain would explode. There is no way this human body could actually hold that kind of energy, which is also like when people channel, they need to get themselves to a certain level of consciousness, because otherwise it would burn our sockets, which is what also Jupiter is going to prepare us prior to Uranus getting there. Because otherwise, if Uranus just go to Gemini right now, it's like, oh my God, like, with everything else that's going on, and now suddenly we all start reading everybody's mind and be telepathic and do God knows what. It's like, oh, I can't deal with all of that. So that's what I mean. Don't wish for anything other that you're experiencing, because what you're experiencing right now is exactly what your soul, you created and your soul attracted, in order for you to learn whatever you need to learn for the next step of the journey, which is why we need to learn to be present and balance our present moment. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. The main message that's been coming up for me from my channelings recently was to find the still point, find the point of balance, which takes us back to Libra. How quickly do you allow the external environment to take you out of balance, which is natural, but how quickly can you go back to it? Or just through somebody telling me something, my entire day is gone now. It's like, it's all right off. Well, if we keep doing that, allowing that external to affect us in this way, then, still we're giving a bit of too much power to someone else. So this is where always we are being brought back to the beginning, Chiron in Aries, and then Uranus, being the one from Chiron to the further level, which is saying you need to find the safety and security within. And with the Mars being the ruler of all this melee, literally in Aries, this stellium, it's saying, well, yes, use the past as something to learn from, but not as a prison of your life. Even that's what I say to my clients. Your natal chart is not a death sentence. It's not a prison. It's just a potential. It's something to give you information or tools to help you navigate through life. But the choice is yours, because we all have a free will. And that's what this Mercury also represents. So what choice are we going to make when literally we are being given a clean slate to say, like, well, choose, you create, Pisces, visualize it, tap into it, believe in magic, start all over again like a child, start looking at the reality from that perspective.
Wonderful. Oh my God, so much to unpack here. You like an encyclopedia, spirituality, history, channeling, astrology, everything is. I guess a lot of people say, oh, when I listen to Mila, I slow down. Usually people speed up listening to 2 times with you. Like, I slow it down half so I can catch everything and realize it. And that's your fast Aries, Mercury, and Aquarius rising.
Oh yeah, this eclipse is connecting to all of that. It's contracting my Mercury, my Venus.
Look at all those planets gathered up there just in 3 signs. Everything except Pluto is within 3 signs. Pisces,
Yeah.
endings, Aries, new beginnings, Taurus, consolidations, and 3 new cycles are starting in April.
Yeah.
In Pisces cycle, in Aries cycle, Sun, Moon, and in Taurus cycle, Jupiter, Uranus. It's this like ending, beginning, strengthening, or consolidation. It's like the 3 modalities are present this month: mutable, cardinal, fixed. So we'll have a bit of everything, basically.
Yeah, it's all there. Like I said, like the magician, all the elements are with you. Do whatever you want with that. You just have to trust yourself and use it in a conscious way. You know, there's the Virgo, the discernment, and the Capricorn. This is the year of Capricorn. This is the year of Saturn, number 8. You know, we all, and four lunations in Capricorn, we all need to learn to put the Capricorn hat on and make the choice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mila, again. And if anyone would like to contact Mila for a personal reading, I'll put the link below in the description. She gives very extensive, full of psychic, not only astrology, but also psychic downloads and intuitions. Her readings, you can read the testimonials as well. So thank you, Mila. I'm looking forward to see what those eclipses bring. Because for me, I'm already feeling it because something so big is changing in my life.
And I mean, it's happening on your sun. So it's like literally.
I know, and this is something I've been hoping for and trying, and it's just suddenly it clicked. And I'm like, wow, no. And it's been years and years. And I hope it's not some crisis as well, because eclipses sometimes can play.
Well, you don't need to hope, Lada, because you are the magician. You decide.
You're right.
You decide.
Thank you so much, Mila. Have a great eclipse, everyone, eclipse season. And may you get the best out of it and the highest vibrations of it all. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.